Walter. Why are we not in New York?
We're driving to Philadelphia.
Why?
We're going to interview Malcolm Kenyatta. So he's the state representative in Pennsylvania. He's been incredibly outspoken on a variety of issues. He's very progressive. I troll a lot of conservatives, and I want to actually use my platform to elevate someone with really good progressive ideas.
That's beautiful. So you're not going to troll?
Oh, I'm going to troll him.
Well, miss, I guess I'll be on my way now.
I'm going to troll him. He doesn't know that, but I think he's going to handle himself really well. This honestly should be the test. If you can handle me trolling you, then I think you should work in public office.
And so let me talk about what this amendment will do. Taking away the drop boxes will mean that less people, not more, vote. We have seen these tactics before. That's why the Voting Rights Act struck down a lot of these things, including allowing people to come from out of county, standing at ballot locations that have nothing to do with them, trying to intimidate people.
I'm with Malcolm Kenyatta. He's running for Senator of the United States of America. And currently you're the Senator of Philadelphia.
So I'm a state rep here in Philadelphia for my district, the 181st district, and I already ran for the U.S. Senate for the,
So he already ran, but he's running again.
Let's take care of the sponsorship first.
Okay, we actually need to do a word from our sponsor. Today's episode is sponsored by Nestle. Sure, child slaves make our chocolate, but what are you going to do? Not eat a Kit Kat? Good luck. Nestle, we'll see you in hell. Wow, great. It's good?
Yeah, no, that was good. Can we have you, I don't know, just saying something like, I love Nestle, it's my favorite company.
You want me to say I love Nestle?
Yeah, if you could. It's like they've done nothing wrong. Legally, they should continue to
but
do
I don't
what
like
they
Nestle, per se.
Oh, I mean...
You know what? Can we agree that oil prices would be lower if Biden hadn't shut down the Flintstones pipeline?
Well, first of all, it's the Keystone Pipeline.
Oil comes from dinosaurs, and so it's the Flintstones pipeline.
See, this is why I want to invest in education, right? Because it's the Keystone Pipeline.
There was like a lot of dinosaurs in the Flintstones. That's sort of a big part of the show. This is what you have to explain to like all these liberals. They just really don't understand.
Yeah, well, I want you to understand like what's happening with gas and oil production. A part of what we know is that right now we're actually seeing more domestic drilling than we've seen under any presidency. And as somebody who cares about the climate crisis, I'm not a huge fan of us increasing domestic drilling. If you look at what oil companies, gas companies are actually paying, the cost of crude oil has come down dramatically. That has not led to a reduction for people at the pump. That needs to change. And I will tell you this, every Republican in Congress voted against the bill to end the type of price gouging that we're seeing from big oil and big gas companies. Every single Republican voted against that bill. So I don't want to hear anything from Republicans about caring about the pain that people are feeling at the pump. Clearly they do not care.
So you're against price gouging. Doesn't that sort of go against the free market? I mean, shouldn't we wait till sort of Exxon really just trickles down?
You just give me a...
So what do you think about the First Amendment?
It's really
Because
one of
I
the most...
think the problem right now is you have these conservative men and they're being silenced right now, and and just being a conservative, it's just you're being shut down just for that reason, just because people don't agree with you. And
Well, I don't think people are being shut down.
Straight white men
for no
are getting
reason.
it the worst, right? I think so.
I don't think that that's actually what's happening. I think that what you're seeing is that people are holding individuals accountable for what, in a lot of cases, has been hate speech or been completely false.
Yeah, because liberals don't agree with someone, suddenly it's hate speech or they're like a fascist.
Well, fascists are fascists.
So you support free speech. Yes. Corporations have free speech. Why not let corporations choose the candidate, and then we can cut out big government?
there was a lot there, but I don't think corporations are people, as Citizens United said. I am for free speech, but a part of what our problem is that there's too much big money and unaccountable money into our politics, so it makes it really tough.
But wouldn't cutting out elections sort of cut out the middleman, and then that way corporations wouldn't be able to put so much money into politics?
Well, no, we don't want to cut out elections. We want free, fair elections. Me, I don't accept corporate donations at all. All my money comes from folks giving whatever they can.
So what you're saying is that you're being bribed by the people?
Well, you know what? That's who I'm working for, everyday working class people, and they know who I'm fighting for because they helped get me here.
You're in the pockets of big poor, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the big poor. It's the lobby poor. Yeah. Right now, one of the biggest issues is grooming. What can you say about grooming?
Well, you do see a lot of conservatives putting AK-47s into the hands of their little kids.
I mean, I was talking about more of the LGBTQ community, them doing the grooming.
Yeah, I really don't know what you're talking about. I think
Are you going to tell me there's not a show on Netflix right now where these gay men like come to straight people's houses and like tell these straight men like how to do their hair and how to decorate? Oh, you have to shower this many times a day. What about their personal liberty?
I do think it's important that people shower, and it's a good thing that our country has more representation of LGBTQ folks on Netflix and government, and also in our schools as well. We need to make sure.
Speaking of schools, that's another big thing. So, I was with my son for my mandatory weekend with him. I take him out to Hooters, and he tells me that his second or third grade teacher he's married to a guy. Now, whatever happened to family values?
Yeah, I don't know if Hooters is the exact right place for somebody that young, but
They're canceling Hooters now.
But I will say that what all kids need are good role models, and what educators want to do is just teach. And it's unfortunate that instead of just funding our schools, making sure the teachers have the resources they need, that I think a lot of Republicans have turned our classrooms into political battlefields, and that's not what we need to see.
That brings me to another thing. So a lot of Republican solutions that Democrats don't like for keeping our children safe in school, such as stronger doors, arming teachers, and background checks. We believe the students should undergo a lot more background checks. I mean, these kids, they don't know who their classmates really are.
I'm not supportive of arming teachers. I don't think educators should have to not only educate, but also be armed guards of their students. If we do what most Americans believe that we should do, have red flag laws for people who are at high risk of harming themselves or harming others, having the background checks, which I already mentioned, and also getting rid of high-capacity magazines.
But background checks take time. What if you're angry right now?
Yeah, I think that's why we need the red flag laws, because if somebody is a danger to themselves or others right now, we want to make sure that weapon cannot be with that individual and that we can keep people in their community safe.
So you're opposed to teachers being armed. Then why can't we just have the cops be the teachers?
That doesn't sound like the best idea I've ever heard. I don't know where you came up with that one.
I mean, we're already spending so much money on cops. I mean, it'd be a great way to just give them more money and give them the pay.
Well, what I think we need to do is increase teacher pay so we can retain good quality educators. And I do think we need to look at how we invest in things that make us safe. And law enforcement is one part of that, but we also need to do things like make sure we embed mental health professionals into all of our police districts, make sure that we're actually investing in high quality education, and that we do things, might sound a little tangential, but that we do things like actually help people repair their homes. There's a lot of good research that when you help people repair their communities and make their communities happy places to be, that those are also safer places to be as well.
Okay, but how are we going to afford all of this if we're giving all of our money to the police?
And so we've had a number of my colleagues on the other side They have suggested numerous times that if we pass SB 106, nothing will change. They've said it so many times that this bill would not actually ban abortion, that this bill would do nothing to make this Commonwealth more pro-life. This bill is just more of the same. Why are you here at 7:30 to do something that does nothing?
So, you know how Christmas morning you wake up, there's a bunch of presents under the tree because your parents spent all night wrapping presents, and you wake up so happy. That's great. But when the Pennsylvania Republican legislature stays up all night to pass anti-abortion laws, it's tyranny. Why the double standard?
Well, what they're trying to do really is tyranny of the minority. Most Pennsylvanians support safe access to abortion. And good news is abortion is still safe and legal here in Pennsylvania, but certainly my Republican colleagues are trying to change that. In the middle of the night, they passed a first step of two to put anti-abortion language into our Constitution, completely in opposition to what over 80% of Pennsylvanians believe.
So what you're saying is that you're against abortion and Christmas. So Republicans have tried to maintain the integrity of elections, and to maintain the integrity and security of an election, we demand that we shut down polling sites in black neighborhoods and make sure everyone has a voter ID that corresponds with their current address. Why is that so racist?
So that's a part of what we're seeing, especially in places like Texas and Georgia, where Republicans are doing things to try to keep black voters, Latino voters, voters of color writ large from being able to participate in the electoral process. And that's like the definition of like what racism looks like in a structural way. And so, yeah, we ought to push back against that.
What's wrong with mandating that every person of color has a voter ID? How is that racist?
Well, whenever you do things to try to keep certain groups from voting, things like poll taxes, which depending on where you live, people might not have access to a specific voter ID, and trying to restrict them from the polling place and trying to restrict their voice from being heard in the democratic process, that's what structural racism looks like.
I have to close this episode with a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Papa John's. Papa John's. Our CEO said the N-word a lot, so we fired him. Now our new CEO hasn't said the N-word in almost 3-4 months. Papa John's. Are you happy now?
And then maybe we get you being like, oh, gotta have that Papa.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
Not like a huge fan of like doing corporate sponsorships.
Okay.
What
all right.
about like, if you're thirsty, buy Nestle water. Water isn't a human right.
Are you being serious right now?
It's hard to tell, right?
It's hard to tell, right? It's hard to tell.
You guys are
Okay,
fucking
cool.
hilarious.
All right. I think yeah, we got it. We're rolling the whole time on both of these guys.
So how did
you
this
got?
start? Because this is...
So the look he gave us when he saw this shirt and this hat was like, okay. I thought I was going to have to just explain stuff to him. He was like, okay, let's shoot this. Great.
Yeah, all right. Yep. I understand exactly what I'm about to get.
He works in the Pennsylvania legislature, so I'm sure that nothing I said was too crazy for him. As crazy as I sounded, he was like, yeah, none of this sounds crazier than what I hear every day
From my colleague.
from people that live a few districts away from me.
Mm-hmm.
Not a few hundred districts away, a few miles away.
And yeah, not random citizens. People who won their election to represent Pennsylvania and write its laws.
And what's amazing is that the Overton window is so far to the right in Pennsylvania that this guy sounds like a radical. I mean, he was screaming at the legislature for passing anti-abortion laws at 2 a.m. when everyone's asleep.
Yeah, I mean, not just laws, amending the Constitution.
So, so So he screamed at the legislature for amending Pennsylvania's constitution to be anti-abortion at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Now, to be clear, this hasn't gone through yet, so there's still another step. So if you want to oppose that, get out there now.
He first got onto my radar when he was screaming at the Pennsylvania legislature for these voting laws they wanted to enact, which would effectively let people in red districts come into blue districts and harass voters.
As a centrist, can you explain why that's bad?
Right. I'm sorry, I'm a centrist. I explain why that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I thought you guys liked First Amendments. Maybe
Like-
I should just vote for a fascist, like a literal
The
fascist.
left has gone too far. That's why I changed my political stance to fascism. I was just so terrified about hypothetically having to use they them pronouns one time that I just voted for full-on fascism.
I'm socially liberal,
I'm
but
socially liberal, but economically conservative.
I'm socially liberal, but I think that a crumb given to a homeless person, trains them to be poor.
I paid off my student loans, and I want every subsequent generation to suffer. Actually, suffering's not enough. I demand blood sacrifice!